When I was told that he had a possibility of autism was from another colleague of mine when he was about 6 months old, and obviously I was shocked. Didn't know what to believe, didn't know where she got that from or how she could tell when no other doctors, no other counselors, nobody could even tell me that he had it. The only answer I ever got was, he'll grow out of it, it's a phase. We can't actually diagnose him since he was so young. My initial emotion was just impossible. Maybe it's just another person telling me he possibly could be and could not be.
Zach must have been very close to a year when I noticed that he wasn't developing normally like other children, and me having 4 children of my own, I noticed that. It was very hard, very hard. I did mention it to my daughter, and it was heartbreaking to let her know, something's wrong with him. Maybe I was wrong. As the time went by, I noticed more and more, and when my daughter broke the news to me, it was devastating. I believe everybody was like in denial at the beginning, but eventually they accepted it and tried to help as much as possible.
Zach was my baby. So the only thing my concern was to find out if he truly had it or not. And if he did, what we needed to do to get him the assistance that he needed. Obviously he was only 6 months old, so I didn't know what autism was. None of us did.
We looked at him as special, very special. And we wanted to just, we were different in the way that we were trying to help him more, be more helpful. And we prayed that eventually he would outgrow it. Growing up, my biggest fear has always been the bullying in school. Just, eventually we weren't going to be around for him, and he was going to be on his own to fend for himself, and that was really my biggest fear.
He's a kind-hearted person. I mean, you look at him and he's willing to help you in any way possible. Once he sees you, he'll go up to you and say hi. That's always been him. He's always willing to make a friend when possible, but he has to be given that opportunity.
It's very painful to have seen her go through what she went through. But I admire her because she's a very strong person, very, very strong. But it's just heartbreaking to see her go through what she goes through.
So this is one of Dylan's rooms. He watches his TV in here, his shows in here. We have some of his toys in here. He shares this room with his little brother. These are just some of Dylan's little toys that he likes to bounce on. He's real big about bouncing and jumping. We give him a little tent here with a little beanbag. It's just a little quiet little place where he can sit in and have some quiet time. So this is Dylan's other room. This is where he sleeps, but this is also where he does a lot of his playing too. Dylan's really big on books. He loves books. He also loves planes, Curious George. So Dylan has 2 rooms. My name is Michaela Salinas, and I am the mom to Dylan.
My name is Manuel Salinas. I am the father of Dylan.
We had Dylan first. He's our oldest, and at 2 was diagnosed with autism. He was a little difficult, not gonna lie. He didn't nurse very well, if at all. He did not sleep very well. A lot of things frightened him, and he didn't sleep very soundly. Like some babies can sleep through loud noises and stuff, and Dylan couldn't sleep through a car driving by. A lot of things woke him up. And so Dylan slept with a CD player under his crib playing music throughout the whole night. It was on repeat. It took anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour to try and soothe him and get him to fall asleep. I have a grandmother that is no longer living, and she brought to my mom's attention and my attention, I guess Dylan was about 6 months, 9 months old. She said, I think there's something special about him. And my mom asked her what she meant, and she said, well, he always had his hands clutched towards his chest. He was always very tense and always very tight in his arms and his hands, and he didn't pick up toys with his hands because he always had them like that. He didn't hold his bottle. By 9 months, Dylan was not rolling over, was not sitting up on his own. He wasn't attempting to crawl. And by 12 months, we still were at the same place.
I went more with what she was with him a lot. Like she said, I worked a lot, so most of the time I'd get home, and I wasn't real familiar on as far as milestones for a child at that age, what they should be doing. I really took her word for it, and just played the good, or not played, but was the good husband, and thought, she knows what she's talking about, supported her.
Most children get excited when they hear their parents' voice that they haven't seen all day. When Manuel would get home from work, Dylan showed no emotion. He had nothing. He wouldn't even turn to our voices. He was just there. I was already stressed because what's going on? What's wrong? What do we need to do? And I was constantly on the computer, constantly reading things to help him. And I was always coming out with, okay, we should try this diet, or we should try this medicine, or we should try this supplement, or we need to take him off of this. So yeah, he was coming home to that. A crazy wife and first mom and a child that showed no emotion.
I guess initially, I wasn't so shy. I think I had already kind of prepared myself, just going by his symptoms and his progression, that weren't there. I had already kind of prepared myself that that's what was going to happen. So it wasn't a reaction like, oh, it's a tragedy or anything. It was just a kind of just sitting there and having to swallow it and decide what we're going to do, how we're going to approach it.
I guess I had in the back of my head that it was autism, so it wasn't like a reaction like you get when you're told that your child has cancer. It wasn't that type of reaction. I was emotional, but it was almost like a relief. Now we knew what we had, and now we knew what we were up against. And after doing all my research and reading other people that had children with autism, I kind of knew where we needed to start. I was thankful for the diagnosis. I knew it would help us with insurance purposes. It would get Dylan more help therapy-wise, and then we could explain it a little bit easier to relatives that didn't understand what was going on. I mourned like a mother mourns when she loses a child. So even though my child was alive and was doing fine, he just wasn't the child that I thought I would get, that I dreamt about. And I feel guilty because I know people that have lost their children, or have children that are not as fortunate as Dylan to be walking and be able to swing and play and eat food the way that he eats his food. But from there, now I don't take things for granted. I am thankful every day of who we have and what we have, and Dylan is probably the happiest person in this house, and so he brings light to wherever he goes.
I think if anything, it kind of enhanced the fatherly instinct that you naturally have. Kind of makes your mind start going into overdrive as far as, okay, what can I do? What should I be doing? So
in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, we caught this early, we can beat this. I see light at the end of the tunnel, like it's not the end of the world. At the time, him being so young versus now, Dylan's 7, he's still not verbal, he's still not able to use a communication device. He's still delayed fine motor skill wise. I think with the last evaluation we had, they put him about a 3-year-old, 4-year-old level. So now this is when I look at him like different, you know, like, okay, so you're going to be our forever child, you know, you're going to be with us for the rest of our lives. So now I look at it like, what do we have to do for him when we're not here? Now that he's older, he is going to have to be with one of us always. Who is he going to go with? What is going to happen to him if we're not here? So now my biggest fear is like, what are we going to do? We have to have something in place for him.
My biggest fear for him is, of course, just him growing up and us not being there, seeing him as an adult trying to function, you know, in a world that's already crazy, you know. And I just kind of wonder, you know, what's going to happen, you know, mainly between him and his brother. I mean, because that's probably going to be ultimately what it's going to come down to. So yeah, I think about that a lot. Sometimes I look at him and I think it's almost like he lives in this happy bubble, you know. In the world we live in, it's almost too good to.
My parents enjoy him tremendously. I mean, he loves my dad. He knows my dad. He knows Grandpa. And my dad, he took care of Dylan when Dylan was probably 6 weeks old. I didn't have a babysitter at the time. And my dad cries, but not like a sad cry. He cries because this child has touched our lives in ways that nobody can imagine.
Well, my parents, not very well. To this day, it's still kind of something that I guess causes friction within our relationship. At first it was more, oh, he's just a boy. Oh, he's just, you know, late. Just leave him alone. He'll be fine. You know, maybe you guys are overreacting. And I think that's the worst thing that you can do. And I think at that point, there should have been more support, and that would have been nice, would have been helpful.
But I think we've made it and we're going to continue being husband and wife and Dylan's parents is because of our faith.
My name is Victoria Rivera. I am Chi-Rho's mom, and I am also married to Mike.
My name is Michael Rivera. I'm Victoria's husband, and I am father to Chi-Rho.
He was like just the perfect baby. He slept through the night at like 5 weeks old, and the first night we brought him home, that was the tough one. I was like, oh my God, we have a baby. He's dependent on us, you know, for the rest of our lives, and we were like, what were we thinking? Because he didn't sleep at all that first night. Slowly, you know, we all got used to each other, and, you know, he was just always smiling and always giggling and, you know, laughing, and just, even when he would get sick, you know, like, he never gave us any problems at all. He would go to sleep when he was supposed to, and he'd eat and, you know, bathe when he was, it was just awesome.
Yeah, he was a great baby. He danced a lot. He loved music like crazy. He had his own little drum set, and he would play it, and he was always dancing. Even before he could walk, he was always rocking, or if music was playing or whatever the case was, but he was always happy. He was always dancing. His development was actually on track in the beginning, and, you know, we didn't see anything out of the ordinary with him at all. He was just a good baby. And on the first day, actually, the one thing I remember bringing him home was we were so scared on the ride home because he was our first. We were hungry. We were going through the drive-thru. We're like, okay, how quiet do we have to be in ordering the food, because he was asleep in the back seat. But we were so careful just on the drive home, you know, that we were first-time parents, didn't know what to do, but he was just, like she said, a perfect baby. He was 4 years old, I believe. They've been running tests on him in school, and we got called in But I think we kind of were in a little bit of a denial for a while. We figured he would outgrow it, or his speech wasn't coming along because, he just was a slow learner, something like that. But anyway, he ended up getting tested and we got called in. One of the special ed coordinators in school was the one who gave us the news. It was one of those things that was kind of, like a brick was dropped on you. We knew his speech was delayed. There were a couple of other signs, but really we noticed that he would repeat a lot of words, which we found out later was called echolalia. He would repeat those words, and he would kind of latch on to certain words, and those are the ones he would repeat. He never said full phrases. He was able to tell us what he wanted, which was good, and it just kind of stopped there. It just delayed, and it never went forward. So, my mom was the first to kind of say maybe you should have him tested, and so that's what we did. I think as a father, one of the hardest things I had to go through and to kind of comprehend was trying to figure out if I'll ever have a conversation with my son. Since he struggled with his speech, and he gave basically clips and phrases, words here and there, maybe 2 or 3 words at a time. It was hard for him to go to pre-K and then come home. I asked him how his day was, and you don't get a response. You go through that multiple times. How was your day? What did you do today? Any new friends? What did you do with your friends? Did you play? And him not able to respond is tough. It's probably the toughest thing that I've had to go through is, trying to figure out if I'll ever have a sit down with my son and talk to him one-on-one about how his day went. Just a regular conversation. I remember that day coming into the house and looking at him and kind of wondering, what is he thinking? I kind of looked at him differently that day for a few minutes. I don't see him that differently on a day-to-day basis. I just remember that first day hearing the news and coming home and just actually sitting there staring at him for a while, trying to figure him out. But I am, somewhat ashamed to say that I did look at him a little differently on that day. From that point on, I really don't see myself seeing him differently. I look forward to taking him to bed like I do with my other kids. I play with him, we do homework together, we pray together at night. I do things that I normally do with my typical kids. I worry about him growing up, going through his junior high, his high school years. That type of stuff is what I worry about now. But growing up, when he was really young as a baby, when we first found out, was just him being independent. That's the one thing that I think all parents want of all their children, typical or atypical. You kind of want them to be on their own. Chi-Rho is so innocent. Even now, at age 7, he's very innocent. He's very naive to the world, which can be a good thing sometimes. But I know growing up that it's going to get tougher. My parents kind of had an idea, or my mom did. My dad was a little in denial about it and would say he would outgrow it, and this is something you don't outgrow. They never stopped loving him or treated him any differently, even to this day. My wife and I try not to do that either. Sometimes we kind of do because we have it ingrained in the back of our minds that our son has autism and that's okay. For the most part, my family was very accepting of the whole thing. Never treated him any differently. There's good and there's bad with autism. I think people see it as a life sentence, and it's not necessarily the case. It just depends. The spectrum is so broad that it's hard to say. With our son's case, he's again such a happy little kid. It would be hard to see him, not have autism. Again, that's the good part of it. The bad part of it, again, is to see him struggle. It's hard for me to describe how to see it other than being good and being bad at the exact same time. It's not all bad. It's not something that's contagious. It's not something that you should feel sorry for us about or for him about. We deal with it as best we can. Our son is going through it and he's dealing with it as best he can and is doing a great job. As far as Kai is concerned, like my wife said, he's just an awesome kid. That's what we want everyone to know about all kids with autism, is that they are very special. Every night when I take him to bed, I tell him I love him. He says I love you too, and I tell him every single day, you're the best, right before he goes to bed. And I need to let him know every day. My hope for Kai in the future is actually fairly simple. I want him to be as independent as possible, is number one. And I want him to affect other people's lives in a positive way, in whatever capacity that may be, whether it's in his profession, whether it's in his personal life. I see how people react to him so positively every day, whether it's his friends, his teachers, or family, us. And I just want that to continue, in the future.
Not just, do good for himself, but for everybody around him. And that he's able not only just to, carry on a conversation, but be successful, what every parent wants for their child, whether they have a disability or not. We're human, and we're doing the best we can, and especially, we'll be fine. It's him, that we need to worry about and that we need to focus on, and, the rest of our kids too. But, he is different. They're all different, but they're just, not less. They're just unique and they're special, and they just need, more patience and more understanding and compassion. It goes a long way. They want to be loved, they want to be included. They want to be social. They want to be normal, in a sense. It's made life more challenging. It's made life not necessarily terrible, because we've been blessed with a son that, yes, he has autism, but it's not as severe to where we haven't been able to handle it.
Challenging is a good word, but probably in a good way. It's been difficult, like she said, going through it personally, and seeing him going what he's going through. Seeing my wife go what she's going through, and his siblings, what they go through, what they will go through in the future, is hard to think about. Relationship-wise, it does put a strain on a relationship, on a marriage, on your relationship with other people. Sometimes it's hard for them to understand what we go through on a day-to-day basis, but we try our best to educate more than kind of tell them you don't understand. But at the same time, it does make you more compassionate. I think it brought us closer to help our son in the best way that we know how, as a couple, as husband and wife, or as mommy and daddy, instead of doing it individually. So it's been pretty good.
Dear Autism, the day you entered our lives was a shocker and disbelief. It was hard to grasp all at once, but at the same time, many questions came to my mind. A lot of it was what ifs and will this be forever? And most importantly, what is autism? And how is this going to affect him day to day in many things? So who are you? What are you? How did you find my baby boy, and why? As you continued to stay, there were still no direct answers to my questions, just that it's not forever and he will grow out of it. No one could tell me what it meant to have autism, what possible issues he could face from year to year, or even the struggles and the characteristics that came with autism in general. Inside, I was hurting because I didn't know how to help my son. As he grew up, or as certain characteristics came that were considered not normal to others, those were the difficult times. Each day was a day of the unknown, or what the day was going to be like. Some days came with meltdowns and were unbearable to handle alone. As Zach cried, I cried with him, because I didn't know what he wanted or needed to get comfort in. I felt alone a lot, with no one to talk to about autism, or about anything about autism and other characteristics. I continued to ask myself why you chose my son. For so long, I kept wondering what I was doing wrong, and how maybe I was setting him up for failure, as everybody kept telling me. Finally, I learned something about you that I had been wanting to know for so long. It was still scary, and the unknown was still there. Each day after he was enrolled in school, Zach had something to show, and more words added into his vocabulary. Then one day, going home after work and after school pickup, Zach started singing a song and telling me, "Mama, do you hear me singing?" I literally pulled over with excitement and tears, because he actually said a full sentence. My heart felt so full, and I actually shed more tears as I continued to drive home. Finally, Zach was fighting you and not allowing you to beat him. But honestly, I feel a little comfortable knowing what I know now about you that I didn't know before. I have also learned that not every child on a spectrum is the same. But one thing for sure is to always show and tell Zach that he is loved. Each day now is a lesson for me. And thanks to you, my son is teaching me more about you and what the world has to offer. It's been 8 years, going on 9 years, that I continue till this day to learn about you. Just know it's not the end, and we will not give in to you. I will continue to fight alongside my son and continue to be his biggest advocate as needed, wherever needed. We will not be isolated by you any longer. Our fight is not over. Each day is a constant lesson for us both, but we will never give up.
Dear Autism, you came into our lives almost 6 years ago, and like a thief in the night, you robbed us of our son. You took the plans of a somewhat normal life from our precious baby boy. Everything all in one diagnosis gone. I mourn for the child I wanted versus the child I was given. You've wreaked havoc on our lives. The endless nights, the emotional meltdowns, and constant worry. I would give anything and everything just for my son to have an equal shot at life. My heart breaks every time I see him struggle. Why him? Why? Why us? Autism, there's so much you stole from Dylan, but you also gave us something. You are life-changing. We are more patient, kinder, more compassionate people because of you. We take nothing for granted because of you. We celebrate each little victory and are more thankful because of you. We are stronger and better parents because of you. You might have days where you are the victor, but we can always start fresh. Those days are few and far between. While we may not know when and where your next punch may come from, I do know we will still be fighting.
Dear Autism, I wish I could tell you I hate you. I wish I could tell you that you have caused me suffering beyond repair because you decided to infect my child. And I will never be the same, and it can never be unbroken. I wish I could tell you that I hope that you one day feel as bad as I do, and as lost and scared as my son is, because he is drowning in a deep, dark sea of frustration and struggling to understand what to say, how to say it. And I'm drowning right beside him because I can't save him. I wish you could feel the panic and tears that come with tackling homework, coupled with many screams and kicks that come from him.
I wish you could feel the wells of tears that come flooding down when he's asked a simple question and you're met with a blank stare or a twirl of his body because he doesn't know the answer. And what's more upsetting, he doesn't understand the question. I wish your stomach would be the one to clench up and turn over on these many nights when he's screaming in pain from stomach cramps and throwing up because you come with an unpleasant side effect of gastrointestinal problems. And you'd be the one whose mind and body ache with exhaustion, worry and lack of sleep, wondering, will tomorrow be better or will it be worse? Or your mind already full of stress and responsibilities from work and laundry and cooking and cleaning and kids. Lose sleep, hoping and praying, wondering, will my child ever be okay? Will his friends guide him and protect him when I'm not there? Will he ever understand what he should? I wish I could tell you I have nothing but hate for you, but I can't. How can you hate something that gave you something so precious, so uniquely perfect, so lovable? My mom was right. Something, or someone rather, good can come out of something bad. Autism, you have given me a rare gift full of kindness, beauty, and wonder. You have given me a son that is my firstborn miracle. A son who brightens up my day every day, even after having one of his meltdowns. A son whose magical smile, now toothless because he's in transition from baby to big boy, as he says, lights up any room and leaves those in that room with smiles of their own. His sunny disposition is infectious. What you have stolen from me is a standard normal child, but you have given me a child who is truly different. Autism, you don't define him, but you're a part of who he is. The dreams you killed of having a brilliant child who would one day grow up and change the world still have some embers burning because the hope remains that he still may do that. He is, after all, always unique, truly intelligent, special, and memorable.
Dear Autism, let's cut right to the chase. You and I have a love-hate relationship. And let's start with the obvious, hate. And allow me to be selfish to start. I hate what you've done to me. At the beginning, I felt like you took away my fatherhood. At the time, he was my one and only son, and you took my God-given right to have a conversation with Chi-Rho. You took my days of playing with my child and turned them into days of worrying about my child. And worst of all, I hate you because even though it may have only been for an instant, you made me wonder why I ever wanted to have a child. I hate you for what you did to my wife. Watching her struggle to understand why this happened to Kai was one of the hardest things I've ever had to go through. Watching the pain in her eyes, watching her struggle to help him with homework, watching her question if it was her fault. All of this was because of you, not her. I hate what you will do to my other children, Halo and Chris. You will force them to sacrifice what they want in their life to take care of their brother, and that's unfair. This isn't their fault, so why is it that they have to pay the price? But most of all, I hate what you've done to my precious boy, Chi-Rho. You make him struggle to complete the simplest tasks sometimes. You make him struggle to speak. You make him struggle to eat. You make him struggle to read. You make him struggle to use the potty. You make him struggle to dress and to clean himself. The smallest victories for any typical child are a celebration of life for Chi-Rho. It proves to all of us that we, and especially he, can overcome you. But through all this hate, there's still love. How do I thank the entity that I hate the most in this world for what most people perceive to be ruining my son's life? It's simple. Kai makes it all worth it. I love you for making our family closer because of Kai. I love you for bringing out compassion in people, especially his brother, his sister, his teachers, his friends, and his family. You bring out the best in those people. I love you for making Chi-Rho who he is, a vibrant, happy, full of life little boy. As shocking as this sounds, it couldn't happen without you. I thank you for that. I thank you for his smile. I thank you for his laugh. I thank you for his dancing. I thank you for his broken speech. I thank you for the mornings in which he wakes me up with, Daddy, can I have chippies and juice? I thank you for the struggles. I thank you for the fights. I thank you for the days that we worry. I thank you for every day that we have with Kai. I thank you for his love. But most of all, I thank you for giving me the most brilliant boy in the world.
Come walk with me, feel the breeze, come walk with me. Oh, and dance, come dance with me, shuffle your feet, come dance with me. And I will tell you when you're older how I loved you just the same. It only matters where we're going. It never mattered from where you came. When life, it gets you down, steals your crown, and breaks your will, I'll pick you up, brush off the dust, and hold you still. I will tell you when you're older how I loved you just the same. It only matters where we're going. It never mattered from where you came. Sleep, my darling. Oh, the night is getting darker. You can dream about tomorrow, and I will tell you when you're older how I loved you just the same. It only matters where we're going. It never mattered from where you came. And I will tell you when you're older how I loved you just the same. It only matters where we're going. It never mattered from where you came. When life, it gets you down, steals your crown, and breaks your will. Oh, life, I'll pick you up, brush off the dust, and hold you still. will tell you when you're older how I loved you just the same. It only matters where we're going. It never mattered from where you came. And go to sleep, my darling. Oh, the night is getting darker. You can dream about tomorrow, and I will tell you when you're older how I loved you just the same. It only matters where we're going. It never mattered from where you came. And I will tell you when you're older how I loved you just the same. It only matters where we're going. It never mattered from where you came. It never mattered from where you came. And go to sleep, my darling. Oh, the night is getting darker. You can dream about tomorrow, and I will tell you when you're older how I loved you just the same. It only matters where we're going. It never mattered from where you came. And I will tell you when you're older how I love you just the same. It only matters where we're going. It never mattered from where you came. 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 And go to sleep, my darling. Oh, the night is getting darker. You can dream about tomorrow, and I will tell you when you're older how I loved you just the same. It only matters where we're going. It never mattered from where you came. And I will tell you when you're older how I love you just the same. It only matters where we're going. It never mattered from where you came. It never mattered from where you came. It never mattered from where you came.